ACC tournament is in Washington next year.
You gotta go. Stand by, gentlemen. 10 seconds. It's a long Brownell cut here, Corn.
Oh.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Corngood, Kevin Murray, and Tom Hayes.
Their size or factor. Disappointed the way we played in the second half. I thought we didn't play very well. I didn't think our competitive spirit was where it needed to be. Certainly proud of the way our guys at the end fought. You know, we played great at the end in the last 4 minutes when our backs were against the wall and, you know, had 2 chances to tie. Just a little bit unlucky, but give Florida State credit. They outplayed us today.
Well, that's Clemson coach Brad Brownell this afternoon after the Tigers were, stop me if you've heard this before, eliminated in the opening round, or in this case, they call it round 2, which is a misnomer because it's really the first full day of play in the ACC tournament after they played a couple of games last night. But call it what you want to. Clemson is on the way back from Greensboro, probably already back at Clemson, having dinner, and players are probably settling in now to study. And, of course, they're going on spring break here pretty soon, so they'll have a chance to get off their legs a little bit. Unless, of course, they're invited to the NIT or some other tournament. Tigers fall way behind in this one. Kubiak got to come back and make it close at the end to the point where a ball hung on the rim, a layup by Rod Hall. Had it dropped in the final seconds, we likely would have had overtime. Instead, the Tigers lose at 76-73. Welcome to Sports Talk on this basketball Wednesday night. Phil Kornbluth from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, where the SEC tournament will begin with the 2, what I like to call play-in games. That's what we used to call them. No Harvard still calling them that. And South Carolina will play Missouri in the second play-in game after Auburn and Mississippi State play in the first one. It's going to tip off in about an hour. Kevin McCrary joins us from the Greensboro Coliseum. He was there to watch the Tigers play this afternoon, and also he saw North Carolina roll over Boston College. K-Mac, that was a game that summed up Clemson's future. They played about as poorly as they can play, behind 20, did about as well as they can play to catch up and make it a one-possession game.
Yeah, a chance to win it. You mentioned that shot by Rod Hall. Yeah, just dangled on the front of the rim there for what seemed like an eternity and rolled off. And they had a 3 that would have tied it late, too, with Gabe DeVoe's shot that was off the mark. So they just dug too deep of a hole. You know, I got to say, when there was 9 minutes left and Florida State was up 20, with the way Clemson scores or doesn't score, as it were, I thought the game was over. You know, I was writing the story as a loss. I thought it was going to be a comfortable win for Florida State, but the Tigers hit some shots and really ratcheted up that defense. They were full court pressing. Florida State couldn't even inbound the ball. They had 17 turnovers, and it was a wild ending to that game. The March Madness was in full effect, but the Tigers just didn't have quite enough to finish the deal.
Yeah, including one of the strangest turnovers you'll ever see. Kofor, the Florida State guy, trying to inbound the ball, running the baseline. He slips. He goes down on his backside, kind of hurt his knee there. The ball rolls out of his hands onto the floor, hit the end line. They maybe should have called it a dead ball or something. The Blossom game, he lays it in for a 2-pointer for the Tigers. That was a big play for him. We'll be right back.
You got the ball? All right. We're going to get the Coplin card. Why not? It's a Chip Kelly kind of day. All right, Chip Kelly and Coplin.
Really hard to make some breakthrough. And sometimes they, well,
Bad boy. Hey, can Corn hear me?
I can bring you up if you want me to.
Yeah.
K-Mac.
Yeah.
Here comes K-Mac, Corn.
Hey, can you hear me, Corn?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, those cast, man, my first one, I was on the wireless because my hard line here at my table in the radio row room wasn't working, and I had to find an IT guy. He got it working like with 3 minutes before I would have not had enough time to get it out, but he got it working, and I was able to get everything out. I was sweating bullets.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Yeah, but it worked. I mean, once he got that going, I could plug in the hard wire, boom, they went right out. But you know how it is when you don't have a good connection. It just does the loading. I sent him at like 3:45, actually before 3:45, it was like 3:40. And then at 4:05, they still hadn't gone through. But he got me connected at about 4:07, and boof, they went through.
You were trying to send it through what? Through your
The wire ready. I mean the uploader.
Yeah, but I mean, what connection were you using at that point?
The Wi-Fi, the media Wi-Fi. That's all I had. That's all I had access to.
So okay, and that wasn't working well, so you had to get a hard connection?
Yeah, and I knew that was going to be a problem when I tried to download your apps, and it was saying it was going to take 18 minutes. And I said, this thing is too slow. It's never going to get my cast through. So I had to go find an IT guy, and, it was a tight window. Anyway, the end of that game took forever.
It did. I kept thinking, how's that? The good thing is they brought Brad in first, didn't they?
No, they brought Leonard Hamilton in first.
Ooh, that made it even tighter for you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't get back in here until a little after 3.
I probably should have done the cast.
And then I was going to try to email them to you and see if you could send them out, but I couldn't even email anything. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't even gone through email-wise. But that's something to know. I know you have the issue when you were on the road once. If you're on a wireless and the signal's not real strong, it could take some time for them to go through.
Because you're trying to upload WAV files, aren't you?
Yeah. That's the only thing you can upload is WAV files.
Yeah. That's good.
Got 20 seconds here, guys. Got to bring you down.
All right.
No. Stand by, gents.
And welcome back into Sports Talk. Good to have you with us here on a busy loop in Nashville. Kevin McCrary in Greensboro, Professor Tom Hayes at our studios in Columbia with the state man Graham Pope. We'll open up for phone lines and your phone calls. Open up phone lines for your phone calls here very early. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Our email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. Of course, if you are having a hard time finding us over the airwaves, go to our website, sportstalksc.com. You can watch the live stream. We've got me here in the upper part of the Bridgestone Arena. I'm actually up in what's called the hockey play area, hockey press box, very top of this beautiful arena in downtown Nashville. And K-Mac's over in the press room area of the Greensboro Coliseum. Last time the ACC tournament will be in Greensboro for a number of years. Next year, then to Brooklyn for a couple of years, then to Charlotte, and then back to Greensboro. So the Greensboro Coliseum will bid adieu to the ACC tournament here for a few years. This grand old lady that has hosted many a great ACC tournament. And so far they've had, the first 3 games were very good. K-Mac, give us the score on that North Carolina-Boston College game. When I left it, North Carolina was up by about 10.
Yeah, let me pull up the. I don't have the final book in front of me. Yeah, North Carolina won comfortably. And in fact, that's the first blowout there's been in this tournament because, Boston College and Georgia Tech, that was a 1-point game. BC won that one. Of course, they lost this afternoon. And then Wake Forest and Georgia Tech. Wake lost by a point to the Hokies in that one, 81-80. And then Clemson and Florida State ended up being a really good game as well. But I'll get you the final. Hold on, I had that.
It's 81-63.
Yeah, Pro's bailing me out there. 81-63 was your final.
All right. Pro, your thoughts on the Clemson game today, the way the Tigers were on that roller coaster as they had been all year. This is a team that was good enough to beat LSU, good enough to beat Arkansas, good enough to win 4 straight league games, but bad enough to finish the year losing 3 of their last 4, play some ugly basketball as they did in this game. They played some really bad basketball at times today. But then they got it together. They turned on the pressure, forced Florida State into a lot of mistakes. They started making their shots and almost pulled it out. I think this game kind of summed up their entire season.
Yeah, it almost sums up Florida State season as well when they could be hot and cold. But, interestingly enough, I'll go back to one of your old heroes from the Boston Celtics, Bill Russell, who said, beware if you're leading and you're behind and you're playing against tight and the wrong people are scoring. I thought Clemson all through the game, what got me was they weren't playing Clemson defense. Florida State, I think, ended up shooting something like came back, 55% from the field.
Yeah.
And they geared a lot of their defense to stop Rantham Mays, and I don't think you can do that. And they left open a lot of easy putbacks on the weak side when they tried to turn their defense completely toward him, and he still pumped in 30 points. And Rod Hall, where's this been? Rod Hall took over the game. First time I've ever seen him actually just literally say, look, I'm putting all of y'all on my back, and I'm going to, because I think he reeled off about 14 to 15 straight points. And I just think he ran out of gas on that layup in the rim. I think he'd worn out his elbow by then.
He also had a couple of critical turnovers inside the last 2 minutes when Clemson was trying to make it run. It kind of stemmed the tide there against the Tigers for a little bit, but they recovered from that. And like we said, they got it down to a last possession for them twice. They had a chance to tie it. They did not go. And, that thing just hung on the rim.
Right there.
1/4 of a turn more towards the end part of the basket, and that ball would drop. They just didn't have enough energy. Tiger Woods in the putt.
It reminded me of another tournament in Greensboro when
with Rod Hall got fouled.
Clemson, I think, had a chance to beat North Carolina. Tree Rollins hook, roll in, roll out. That's the first thing I thought about.
I was thinking about
Rod Hall. Tiger Woods in the chip. It was a chip in Augusta that
on 16.
But
Corn, it was Rod Hall here against Duke when he drew what looked like a foul, and he didn't get the call. I think that was his freshman year here at Greensboro. Maybe it was a sophomore year in this tournament.
That was last year.
Was that last year?
Yeah, that was last year he didn't get the call. Yeah.
He's had some bad breaks here. Right? You don't get a lot of calls in Greensboro against the Tobacco Road teams. That's why a lot of people are interested to see what happens when they're in D.C. and Brooklyn if the Tobacco Road teams still get all the calls.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is, Florida State they are obviously a tough matchup for Clemson. They've got the Tigers' number in this tournament. What is that now? I looked it up last night. That's like eight. I want to say it's eight in a row.
Okay.
In the tournament.
I think you're right.
In the tournament, that Florida State has beaten Clemson, and that guard for Florida State, freshman, he was outstanding. He had some huge, deep 3-point shots in this ball game as they their lead.
Yeah, and those were contested, too. You're talking about Xavier Rantham Mays. And, 5 of 9 from 3, 11 of 19 from the floor. He had 30 points, and it was just that kind of day for him. But Rod Hall, he finished with 25 points. He talked about how close he was to 27 and getting that equalizer. But he played very well after and whatever happened against Notre Dame when he was benched for the second half. But his final game, in all likelihood, for the Tigers ends up with 25 points. I say in all likelihood, maybe I shouldn't say that. The NIT is probably off the table for the Tigers, but there is some talk around here that Clemson could end up in the CBI, and that the ACC could encourage them to accept a bid to the CBI, perhaps. An ACC team hasn't participated in that event since 2008.
Yeah, for good reason. Nobody wants to play in it. All right, 956-7266 is the number. Upstate is going to the CIT. They've accepted a bid to play in the collegeinsider.com tournament. They're going to host games at the Hodge Center in Spartanburg Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So congratulations to Eddie Payne and his folks on getting that. Kurt Busch has been reinstated by NASCAR effective immediately. He will still have to go through some things. He's under indefinite probation, subject to additional mandatory requirements. But he is going to be allowed to jump back into a race car immediately. So that situation has been resolved. Yeah,
he got a waiver for the chase. I heard today that they gave him a waiver into the chase.
Well, I mean, he would still have to like win a race.
I understood that he received a waiver into the chase.
That's it. Cut to the chase.
I haven't seen that. I'm looking at the NASCAR release. Requirement that a driver must compete in all championship events.
That was waived.
Current season to be eligible for the chase has been waived.
That was waived. Okay.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get a waiver into the chase.
No. Assuming he returns to competition, he would have 0 championship points to date after missing the first 3. But now he can compete for a spot in the chase. And, of course, if he wins the race, he'll be in the chase. And this story from Jeff Hartzell at the Charleston Post and Courier, this is not a good story. Near the end of last night's Citadel football practice, Citadel fullback Deshaun Daniels carried the ball for a short gain. He got up, returned to the huddle, spoke with his quarterback, and then as he settled into his stance for the next play, he collapsed on the practice field about 10 feet away from Coach Mike Houston. Medical staff was unable to revive Daniels. He was taken by ambulance to the hospital. 2-hour surgery to relieve pressure on his skull. Listed in intensive care, critical condition at the time this story was written, which was at 6:12. His father said that his son's condition is improving rapidly. He is getting better. The father said that doctors and nurses are very optimistic and say he is progressing a lot faster than expected. Now, let's hope that kind of news continues in this case. Back in a moment.
Have you seen him today? I didn't recognize him. I saw 75 pounds. Unbelievable. A lot more is sports line and then ACC tournament. Awesome. Great job, buddy. Serious guys holding us here in the to me, a little bit for North Carolina to go down because they have a particular real self-inflicted injury to an extent. And in most cases, they would like to know that. I think that's where we bring on the feedback. North Carolina they came back, and then they stretched down on that game. The place they had really kind of wanted to.
I can't swear with that if you're to turn down what they just posted today with Fred Rydell said afterward.
Jules, is this a typo game tonight? That's true. My one cannot go to right.
almost did not recognize it when I walked by. So again, tough loss for Packer home. So yeah, I walked by the LS. Jay, first of all, it's like tell our listeners real quickly.
Stand by.
Hey, a little bit more on this story about Citadel football player Deshaun Daniels. It's better news again, continuing with this story as Jeff Hartzell talked to the young man's father. The father said that according to doctors, the vein in his son's head became detached and started to bleed into his brain. And the father said a guy dragged his son down from the side. Right before he went down. The doctors don't know exactly what happened, but they said it could have been a situation where the vein became detached, maybe due to hypertension. The young man previously survived a bout with bone cancer. He was diagnosed in February of 2013. He was at the Naval Academy at the time. He underwent chemotherapy to treat a tumor on one of his left ribs. His last treatment, November 2013, he was cleared by his doctors to play football, but Navy would not accept him after the cancer. But his father said this had nothing to do with his cancer. He said, from everything the doctors say, this is a random deal that happened. Wow. All right, this is good news, though. It looks like he's improving and quickly getting better. So it started off as a near tragedy. Apparently he's going to turn out okay. All right, 800-956-7266. Take some phone calls here before we get into Brad Brownell. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney as well. Cliff Ellis will join us later on tonight, too. We come to you from Nashville and Greensboro and Columbia. And we go to John in Hilton Head for our first call tonight. John, how are you? And welcome into Sports Talk.
Thank you. Bill, I'm a Tar Heel. Went to school up there, and I've talked to you all a couple of times about, especially about the basketball situation. I listened with some great deal of interest in the conversation you fellows had the other night about the Syracuse situation, and obviously, as you should have, liking it to what may happen to North Carolina. I don't think there's any doubt about the fact that there's some guilt there. It's just going to be a question of how much and how severe the NCAA gets involved in that situation with any kind of probation or punishment. I think there's obviously going to be some, but more importantly, and I think this is something a lot of Carolina graduates and a lot of former athletes at Carolina are concerned about, and that's the fact that the accreditation agency, Southern Association of Colleges, is also looking for and there's some really serious academic penalties imposed too. My understanding is Syracuse may also have some. Frank DeFord, who has a little program on the radio, on the National Public Radio each Wednesday morning, I saw him this morning, and he was talking about the Syracuse situation and sports into academic programs. He said that he was advised
Right, John, let me jump in here just a second. Hang on. I'll ask you to be quick when we come back. We have to hit a break, but I'll let you finish the comments in just a moment. And also, more coverage from Greensboro and Clemson in the ACC coming up.
Well, you just have to pay attention. One thing I really like about this is, I mean, there's no, Mark's like, well, here we go. So it goes every time. Yeah, so the first game goes long. That's good. When the second game starts, he's like, you have to be a little bit more straight as that game ends, we're coming into, there shouldn't be any post game. Since that game goes all the way to our organization.
certainly we're on team that basketball, it takes a while. You have to relearn. And now you've got a new team that's coming in. I can't retweet you because I can't put a comment. I can't read your comment, but I want to put Florida State, Miami.
I think this team probably has a better chance than next week. But what?
You think she does?
Whatever it is, yeah, yeah, you guys yeah, you guys still running the access. Are you guys still running on the access on the doctor? Okay, so I'll drop this. All right, stop it.
Because there is basketball outside of the Atlantic Coast Conference, we present the Forever First Citizens College basketball scoreboard. NC Central up at the Scope in Norfolk. Their quarterfinal game is the MEAC tournament against Coppin State. And Central knocked Huntley around. 34-17. The Eagles will win the Eagles. We'll see. 34-17. Central in front. Jordan March with 13 points and
All right, Jimmy, stand by. We're coming back.
All right.
We're back, Sports Talk from Nashville, Bridgestone Arena, from the Greensboro Coliseum, and from Main Street, downtown Columbia. All points covered every night here on Sports Talk. Coming up, we're going to hear from Clemson coach Brad Brownell and Rod Hall. Also, Tiger football coach Bradley Sweeney just wrapped up practice. We'll hear from him coming up in a couple of minutes. Back to John. And John, if you would, wrap up your thoughts for us about this North Carolina.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that this morning, information from the NCAA, unidentified to him, indicates that there could be as many as 22 major universities being investigated by the NCAA with academic issues concerning athletes. So
well,
this
that
is
would be a that would be a real shame. That would be an embarrassment for the entire college sports industry if it comes to that. Hopefully, nothing to the extreme of what North Carolina's been accused of, which is basically creating an entire school out of thin air, more or less, for athletes to go and take courses and help them get their degree that way. I would hope that we wouldn't have that kind of widespread issues throughout college sports. That would be a complete and total embarrassment. All right, sir, thank you very much. Let's go to, where are we going, State Man? David in Latta. home of champions, missed out on another trophy this past weekend. David, how you doing?
How about you?
Doing great. Good to hear from you.
Well, I hadn't been listening to the show. I've been sort of out of pocket, but I wanted to find out what you thought of the recruiting class. You think they got
we had a great year. The incoming freshman class, most of them are already in school. About 15 of them enrolled early. And they really helped themselves on the offensive line, really helped themselves in the secondary, added some speed at wide receiver, too. Yeah, it was a highly rated class by the national analysts, if you go by that. So a lot to feel good about there. 2016 class, 2016 recruiting looks good, too. Recruiting is never a problem for Clemson. They've got it going. They've got the right mindset. They've got the right organization and the right approach. They have a lot to offer and sell. So recruiting is never going to be an issue for Clemson. And they continue to recruit at a very high level. All right, thanks for your phone call. Appreciate it very much. K-Mac in Greensboro. Let's get back to him. He was there to watch the Tigers play and lose, and also to listen to Brad Brownell. K-Mac. And here is Brad Brownell, post-game press conference along with Rod Hall after the Tigers lost by 3 to Florida State.
Just didn't play well enough to win today. Thought we played pretty well in the first half and missed some shots at the rim that you need to make. Obviously, their size was a factor. But just disappointed the way we played in the second half. I thought we didn't play very well, and I didn't think our competitive spirit was where it needed to be. Certainly proud of the way our guys at the end fought, and we played great at the end in the last 4 minutes when our backs were against the wall, and I had 2 chances to tie, just a little bit lucky, but give Florida State credit. They outplayed us today.
Questions? First question.
Brad, Jonathan Jones, Charlotte Observer. Obviously too little too late there at the end, but what you guys did, especially on the inbounds, it was clear that that's something that you all had worked on and you got what you wanted to out of that, correct?
Yeah, we got a good look. It's everybody knows you need 3. It's hard to get a great 3, and we had 2 looks there, and Grantham found Gabe DeVoe off a little screening action, and it was a deep shot, but he can make those and just didn't go in.
Brad Sinkovich, Independent. Brad, what do you think was the difference? Why do you think your guys responded the way they did late and couldn't have that kind of energy earlier in the game?
I think it's just normal, to be honest with you. I think, in the last 4 minutes of a game when you're up 12 or 15 and the other team's pressing, it's hard not to get a little tight, especially in a tournament. And, when your back's against the wall, you just kind of let go matter. And so you can shoot freer and, guys just attack more. And I think it happens in more tournament basketball than people realize. It's hard to hold on to a double-figure lead late. If 1 or 2 things go against you early in that situation and the other team builds any momentum, it's tough. And our guys did a good job of fighting. We were active, aggressive. We trapped some. We fouled appropriately to get some of the shooters we wanted shooting. And Rod did a great job of being in attack mode in those late minutes and making plays for himself or others.
Coach, you had talked about Raton Mays and I know your worst fear coming to this game is he would go off like he did today. Is he just that hard to contain?
He's a good player. I mean, Rod's done a great job on him the other 2 games that we played him. Tonight he made 3s, which, he doesn't always do. When he makes 3s, it makes it doubly tough. Some of those are guarded shots. But he's a super player. He made 5 today, I think, and that's just entirely too many. He's done that against a bunch of teams in our league, and I guess it was our turn today.
Second round.
Rod, you had that layup there that just didn't fall. It was a 2-point game. You had a chance there. Just how emotional was that not see that go down and know that this was your last ACC game?
It was very tough for me. I wanted to put my team in a good position and win this game. But, I mean, the ball rolled the opposite way I wanted it to. It just didn't fall.
Any other questions? Yep. Second row.
Yeah, Rod, what made it so tough when you got down by so many? What's going on mentally and when you're trying to wage a comeback like that? It's like fighting upstream, isn't it?
I think the toughest thing is just getting everybody to believe, basketball turns and possessions, each possession, anything can happen. So, I mean, it was just tough trying to keep everybody going. But at the end, my teammates didn't give up. They kept fighting, and I'm proud of them for that.
Brad, what did you see from the defensive standpoint? Were they just constantly making shots, or did you feel like you guys just didn't bring the same amount of energy they usually do?
I don't know. I think it was a combination of things. I thought their post players made some big time plays, and I think their two foremen, Smith and Kofor, both made big threes. I know it only sounds like one basket each, but that's 6 points, and they don't normally do that consistently. One of those or two of those happened late clock when we kind of guard them for 20, 25 seconds and really guard them the way you want. You end up giving up a shot. It's a three to those guys, and they capitalized. And I just thought they had good mix to their game today. Mays was special and got enough from other players. Kofor and Smith both played well, a little bit from their center position, and we're struggling a little bit. And so just a combination of a lot of little things. Certainly Mays 30 is the big thing, but they got some good baskets from some other players that supplemented their offense.
All right, Brad Brownell, Rod Hall, after the Tigers lose today to Florida State. K-Mac, what was the sense around the team after the loss? Do they feel like they're going to get another shot in some postseason tournament, or is it more the case where they're ready to just hang up the sneakers and move forward in the next season? What's their feeling?
Well, I wasn't able to get into the locker room because, unfortunately, that was going on simultaneously as Brad Brownell and Rod Hall were going off. So I can't really get a sense of that. I know the sense I get talking to people around the program is they would prefer not to go to anything other than the NCAA or the NIT, and that's usually the kind of the standard operating procedure for ACC teams. But I'm sure if they get an invite and they're told to go, they'll go and play whoever. But I don't know how enthusiastic they would be about a CBI or a CIT bid.
Yeah. Well, when you played in the Final Four of the NIT last year at an NCAA tournament a few years ago and win a game there, dropping down to that next level would be hard to swallow for it, especially for a coach that's been around for a few years. We'll be right back. Dabo Swinney coming up.
Thanks, Robert. Good. Enjoy. Yep. See you, man. Terrence, maybe one big break. Yeah, come on back. You're going to the same place. Yeah, come on back.
And how, just overview.
Well, really it is because, we've got 6 under our belt and, you've got one more practice that has to be in shorts.
Just say it's halftime.
Yeah.
And how, just overview.
Well, really it is because we've got 6 under our belt, and you've got one.
We have to do halftime mistake. We do halftime mistake, right? Right, no, but I do that. Yeah.
Hey, Max, sorry, I got to mute you one more time so we can play this Dabo. Don't hate me.
No problem.
Well, there's only one thing more important than Clemson losing in the ACC basketball tournament in the month of March, and that is, of course, a Clemson spring football practice. Last one today before they go on spring break. Basically, they're about halfway through spring practice, and that's the way Dabo Swinney looks at things right now.
Well, really it is because we've got 6 under our belt, and you've got one more practice that has to be in shorts, which is more of we use that one for kind of summer organization and splitting the teams up and all that, and then you have the spring game. So basically, you got 7 practices where the whole team is together. So we've. That's what I was just talking to them. We got a lot to do, and everybody's got to get better. And the key is meetings tomorrow, and we'll let them break on Friday. But when we do get back, we can't start over. We can't. We've got 6 days of installation that we've got to retain. We've got to pick up and keep moving forward. We can't. We don't have time to just start over. And so that's on them. That's those guys taking pride in their performance and their preparedness, being ready when they get back. Going through their notes, going through their film on the iPad and all that stuff, and just really, everything's available to them. There's no excuse to not, be prepared for what we've done, going over the mistakes and the corrections and all that. So. That's the challenge to those guys, and and plus they need to unplug and enjoy a little time off, which they'll do. But we got a lot of work to do when we get back in the next 3 weeks. But this is a as I said the other day, this is a fun team to come out and practice with every day. And one of the things, and I thought I saw a little bit of it today, if somebody's not quite bringing that sense of urgency and purpose to practice, they get exposed pretty quick because it's very competitive, very competitive. You can't really hide out here, and I love that. And I thought we had a little bit of that today with our secondary. A couple guys just a little lethargic, and wideouts had probably their best day of the spring. That's what I'm talking. There's no room for error. And it's that way at every position, just really good competition day in and day out. And, that's going to make us better. Anytime you have that type of sense of urgency in practice, you can't help but improve.
Beyond McKenzie, who are your next 2 corners, regardless of which side?
We're repping all those guys. I'm really pleased with Ryan Carter and what he's done. I think he's really stepped up these first 6 days, and Baker's done some good things. I'm really pleased with him. He's got some good work. Marcus is still coming. We really like Chalmers. We think he's going to be an outstanding player. He's a technically advanced guy for a young player, and just really pleased with where he is from a starting standpoint. But that's a very, very competitive group right there. All of them taking pride in their performance.
I know he's further down the line, the reserve maybe, but just a question. Dane Rogers, is he tackling?
We've been repping him. He's one of those guys, a little bit like Randy Moore was several years ago, that probably will have his hand in both over his career. But right now we're working him at inside, playing him down in the D tackle. You play the nose, you play the nose and the 3 technique. Right now that's where we have him, and I think that's the best spot for him with our personnel.
Where are you at quarterback?
Well, I can't say enough good things about Nick Schuessler. I mean, this is one of those practices you wish that everybody got to see. It was pretty impressive. I mean, he has had 6 outstanding days of football practice, and it's just great to see the light come on for guys. And he has done an outstanding job of leading. He's made some big-time throws, and he's just playing with a sense of urgency that I have not seen from Nick Schuessler since he's been here. He's playing with a confidence that I have not seen since he's been here. And as a result of that, he's playing faster and more decisive and accurate, and I mean, just really, really encouraged with Nick. This has been great to see him just blossom like he's doing right now, and just taking it and running with it. And then those 2 young guys, they just keep getting better every day. Both of them, doing good things. They're absorbing it well. This break will be good for them because both of them are the kind of guys that will kind of go back and be further along when they get back.
I wonder if Watson can win his job back from Schuessler when he gets healthy and gets out there in practice, huh? You don't think so, huh? It's Schuessler's job to lose going into fall camp. Dabo never saw a Tiger he didn't like. Back in a moment.
Hey, Cam, I did.
Yeah.
You see my little note about muting you before Brownell because you guys are coming through the same computer. I don't want to let noise in there.
Yeah. I figured that's what happened when Phil jumped back in.
Calls, previews, and more. See you, Tim.
I didn't even think about Phil tossing it to you. Otherwise, I would have told you beforehand.
Yeah.
All right, and then this is for today. Hi, this is Zach Rose. Join me and Joe will be starting at 10 o'clock.
Sturgis, are you guys going back? Or are you guys going to do the show here the rest? You're going to do it tomorrow?
Hi, this is Zach Rose. Join me and Joe will be
Yeah.
10 o'clock this morning at the ACC quarterfinals Friday on a Thursday. First time ever. We'll see you at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro. Hey, Chad. There was a false start at the second one, right? I wasn't sure.
From South Carolina.
Who's going to be with Chris?
Yeah, what now?
So what's the one radio station from the Midlands up that wasn't here
You know what?
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of that.
We can only get one coach per week. We have Frank Martin on.
All right, there's only one thing more important than Clemson playing basketball the ACC tournament in March and the Clemson spring football practice to boot. That, of course, would be the nightly recruiting report here on Sports Talk, and we give you that. You know what? I've got the NAFM coming up. I don't think I should do this during the national anthem.
No.
No, that's not patriotic.
No, yeah, but it was. I thought, I don't know if I'm Clemson, because I'm still in my opinion, a burgeoning program. I think it goes for a full season. I don't know what it is. Get the guys together, especially the young players, get as much experience playing together as possible. That's my mantra if you're talking about Clemson. And because let's face it, you look at the ACC now, it's only going to get tougher. So as much together as you can squad, you go ahead and do it, Brad Brunell.
I've just never been happier to, I always get happy pro for the national anthem, but man, God bless America. The national anthem preempting recruiting. Another reason why America's the greatest country in the world right there.
Of course, there's other tournament action going on, and in the Big Ten,
okay,
it was Penn State. I was about to say that Penn State did go ahead and finish off Nebraska 68-65.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do recruiting. I'm fired up now. Got the national anthem behind me. Let's do something we can do, and that is do recruiting. All right, offensive lineman John Simpson from Fort D had Clemson and USC high up on his list. Little difference between them. Then he went to Clemson for Junior Day last weekend, and now he's got Clemson #1 and USC not even in his top 3. LSU and Georgia fill out those spots, but he said USC's not out of the picture. He just hasn't been there to take a good look at the campus. Clemson's the only one where he's gotten an extensive look, and he really liked what he saw, liked the people, liked the coaches, liked the other recruits. He is not going to make it to USC's next Junior Day on the 28th because he's going to Mississippi State and Alabama that weekend. He will visit Georgia March 21st. He does plan to get back to South Carolina sometime and he's not close to making a final decision. He wants to make as many visits as he can. Clemson offered defensive back Stanford Samuels III of Hollywood, Florida, and 2017 athlete Malcolm Askew of McCalla, Alabama. Richland Northeast linebacker T.J. Brunson plans to visit USC March 17th for spring practice. He has a USC offer. 2017 linebacker DeAndre Boyd of Lawrenceville, Georgia, visited Clemson Monday. Basketball 6'6" shooting guard Malik Ellison of Burlington, New Jersey, Never Nervous Purvis' son, has USC in his final 6, along with Minnesota, Maryland, Temple, Rutgers, and Cal. Gamecocks are relatively new in the picture. He's been talking with Perry Clark. He also texted with Frank Martin the other day. He said there's a decent chance he'll take a visit to South Carolina. He's been to Minnesota officially, and he's favoring the Gophers right now. He averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, and assists per game this season. God bless recruiting. And we'll be back, top of the hour break.
I'm probably, I was debating whether I was going to come back tomorrow just to kind of dilly-dick around, but I'm probably going to roll back to Columbia tomorrow. Tomorrow? Oh, no, I'm staying. I mean, I didn't check out of my hotel. I don't have your number. Write down your number. Yeah.
Like I said, we're staying.
Yeah, I'm staying about 10 minutes away.
68. We're actually technically.
Well, that's right, because I'm staying in Archdale, so I'm that direction too. You're towards Charlotte. Yeah. All right, I might shoot you a text. This is your cell phone number? Yeah. I got another hour here.
I'm glad that Phil finally has some time off to go to Nashville. Like suck ass.
Yeah. Well, normally I jump all over the Nashville trips, but his son lives up there now, so he goes up there and sees his son. Yeah. So you're probably happy to be rid of him. Like, well, thank God I don't have cornbread here. Cornbread here.
So we'll be taking advantage of here in the future. It's like
You know what? They are tournaments that mean something.
Yeah.
You got the juices flowing now? Oh, yeah. You ready to rock and roll?
What is up?
The second meeting, 22 offensive rebounds and 26 second chance points. Opposite target number 1 from North Carolina, Montrezl Harrell, who had 22 points and 15.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Hey, we're off and running in the SEC tournament here in Nashville. Bridgestone Arena. Auburn is leading Mississippi State. And after Mississippi State scored the first 4 points, the Tigers have come back to score the next 6, all by, let's see, who scored these? Ross Miller. Casey Ross Miller has all 6 points, 2 3-pointers for Auburn. So Casey Ross Miller leads Mississippi State 6-4. And I swear to you, I don't think I'm exaggerating. You've got Auburn and Mississippi State playing right now. There are more Kentucky fans here than there are Auburn and Mississippi State fans, maybe combined. I mean, there's a lot of blue already in the stands. And, of course, their team doesn't play for 2 more days. That's Kentucky fans for you. They come early and they stay late. What's happening at Greensboro, K-Mac?
They're just tipping things off. NC State is going to take on Pittsburgh here in a 7-10 matchup, the late game Virginia Tech and Miami. Corn, you talk about the Kentucky fans taking over the arena there. I can tell you this. When Clemson and Florida State were playing the early game today, there were probably more North Carolina fans in the stands at the start of that game. They were arriving early and often, as they do here, the Tar Heel fans. They were playing at 2, so they were already scattered around the stadium, and I saw a lot more powder blue than I did orange or Florida State. What is that, maroon and gold that they wear?
Yeah. And it looked like as that game, your game went on, and then the North Carolina game started, it looked like the arena had filled up pretty nicely for that game. Not much there when Clemson and Florida State tipped off. All right, 8-6, Mississippi State has gone back on top here. Let's jump back to the phones, and we're going to go to Alan in North Augusta. Alan, how are you? Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk.
Thanks for having me, Phil. How are you?
Good.
All right. Every time Brad Brownell talks after a loss, tell me if it don't sound like Dan Hawkins of Colorado when he says the intramurals speech. You know what I'm talking about? When he says, I got an anonymous letter from a parent. Go play intramurals, brother. Pull that up on YouTube and listen to it and see if he don't sound exactly like Brad Brownell.
You mean in terms of his voice inflection or the words he's using?
Yes, just his enunciation of words and just the tone of it. He sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like it. Just check it out and see what you think.
Okay, I'll have to do that. What was the intent of what Hawkins was saying?
He's talking about he got a letter from a parent talking about how hard the boys on the football team was having to practice too much.
Okay.
And he goes off and just type in Dan Hawkins intramurals.
Okay.
All right, man.
I'll do that. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And we'll get into this coming up. We'll talk about the future of Clemson basketball. Is it bright despite the way this season may have finished up? We'll talk about that coming up, and then we'll talk more about South Carolina's game coming up against Missouri. Fellas, at the bottom of this hour, too. We'll be right back. More sports talk coming your way.
2-2, 2-2. It's me in the radio room now. No one.
Stand by, guys.
It's Mississippi State leading Auburn here, 11-9. We've got baseball going on as well. Clemson has taken a 1-0 lead on Michigan State. They're playing that game at Fluor Field in Greenville, and South Carolina is playing Penn State tonight at Carolina Stadium. Reed Scott on the mound for the Gamecocks, and they're scoreless in the bottom of the first inning. So got a lot of stuff going on. We'll update these the action at Greensboro Coliseum as well coming up. Cliff Ellis at the bottom of the hour is scheduled to be with us. If you want to join us on the program, love to get your thoughts on Clemson's game today in the ACC tournament. And if you are interested, South Carolina's game coming up tonight against Missouri, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. This note from earlier today, as some teams worked out here and players and coaches met with the media, Daniel House is out for Texas A&M. He's in a walking boot. He's not expected to play in the tournament, so that's not good news for Texas A&M. Not good news for those of us who want to watch him shoot the basketball because the guy is outstanding. So that's the one note coming out of those media sessions earlier today. Clemson, guys, after losing this game to Florida State, another quick exit for the Tigers in ACC tournament play, and so Clemson is at 16-15. So they do have a winning record, good enough to qualify for the NIT. I know a couple of weeks ago, NIT bracketologists, if such a thing exists, I believe it does, probably ESPN has one just because that's what they do, lists and brackets. Anyway, they had Clemson as a number 5 seed there. Now, they've lost 2 of their last 3. They go out in the first round of their tournament. K-Mac, you mentioned playing in one of those lower-level tournaments. I don't know. Is that really worth that just for the sake to play a few more ball games? I mean, what possible good could come of that for Clemson to playing anything other than the NIT?
Yeah, I mean, they've got Littlejohn that they're ready to renovate. I know they said it would be available for potential NIT matchups, but do you want to possibly delay construction on your arena while you play a CBI game? I don't know. Do you want to rent out a Anderson Civic Center for a CBI game or a CIT game? I don't know. I think for USC, it makes sense. I could see them going to the CBI, but for Clemson, it doesn't make as much sense where they are right now. But I guess only they can answer that question, and we'll find out here in the next few days.
I disagree.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, let me say this, Pro. I agree with K-Mac, and I alluded to this earlier. I mean, Clemson's program is more firmly established. They've been to the NIT. They've done the Final Four there. They've been to an NCAA tournament. They've won a game under Brad Brownell. He's been around long enough. I mean, those lower-level tournaments are for, if you ask me, coaches just getting started, programs that haven't been in any tournament of any kind in so long they can't remember, and they're just looking to scratch the surface with any postseason type of tournament. I think South Carolina would accept and would be right in accepting a bid to one of those lower-level tournaments just for the purpose of getting in the postseason and trying to build some excitement in their program that way. I think Clemson is long past that, if you ask me.
Yeah, you may think that, but if you're Clemson, I don't pass on anything because I think Brad Brownell is still trying to develop a strength in this team because I think in my mind, even though they don't think they do it, I think Clemson, when they play certain teams and playing it in the ACC, they kowtow down sometimes to some teams. And I mean, in order to develop toughness and togetherness, and we're in this together, I think anytime you can elongate these guys, and they still have a relatively young team together, playing together for a common goal, toughen the team, together the fabric of the team. So when they get back in the ACC and they go to places like Notre Dame or Louisville, we're not kowtowing down to nobody. We're gonna take you to task when we go in your arena, and I think that's still being developed at Clemson.
Your passion is commendable, but I just don't think that for Clemson, where they are, it would be an embarrassment to play in the.
What do you gain? Yeah, what do you gain?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything. They've got nothing to gain and everything to lose. They have the embarrassment of losing a game to some no-name directional school. And if you win it, it's like yawn. I mean, we're talking major yawn. You know, the NIT winning is a yawn. This would be a major yawn. Whatever, this would be a comatose sort of thing. I think. If I'm Clemson, I'd pass on it. If I'm Brad Brownell, I would spend that time that I would have to use preparing for a game in that tournament. I'd be, he still has a scholarship, at least one scholarship that he can at his disposal here to go along with the 2 commitments he's already got. So he still has one more scholarship he can give. I think I'd find me a good player somewhere to try to come in and fill that scholarship. But we'll see what happens. 800-956-7266 if you'd like to join us. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, we are at SportsTalkSC. Our website, sportstalksc.com. You can catch KMAX postgame coverage with Clemson there, and we'll do the same thing with South Carolina coming up later on tonight with our postgame coverage of the Gamecocks game with Missouri. And on Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. Don't forget, you can watch us on a live stream via the internet on our website, sportstalksc.com. You can see me, full head shot, and you can see K-Mac from the nose up. You need to adjust your camera there, K-Mac. I'm getting you from the nose up.
That's my best side, the nose up.
Okay.
I'm more than the nose. It's more than the nose up. It's the whole thing. I got the whole thing going on here, Corn.
Nose up, flaps down.
And the stream stays up on our website for about 22 hours. If you miss the show, you can go back and catch it there.
Except on Fridays, it stays up 46.
That's right. Yeah, plenty of time on the weekend to catch up. All right, the Gamecocks coming up against Missouri. A team now at South Carolina with the road win at Tennessee, breaking a 15-game losing streak there. A tough, close loss to Arkansas. A big win over Mississippi State. On the road, a little close loss at Alabama. Disappointing home loss to Texas A&M. I'm going back up here. And then that road win at Georgia. So Gamecocks have finished the regular season 3-3. They've got 2 road wins among those 3. They're feeling pretty good about themselves, I would say. Win this game, you're 16-15, guarantees you at least a break-even season in all of regular season and SEC play, may put you in position for some kind of postseason play. But I think the feeling for South Carolina basketball, if you want to talk trending, guys, I would say their feeling right now is trending up, especially if they can get a win over a Missouri team that's just playing without their best player, Wes Clark, who was hurt against South Carolina a few weeks ago, hurt his elbow, out for the season. This is you talk about an offensively challenged team. Missouri only averages 57 points a game in SEC play. If South Carolina plays good basketball that they're capable of, hits about 40-45% of their shots, and they'll do the other things they do pretty well, I see no reason why they won't win this game and get ready to play Ole Miss tomorrow night.
I'm kind of wary about this Missouri team because obviously they were also without, I think, a Caesar was not playing at that time. I don't know whether suspension or injury.
Well, they had three freshmen suspended when they played the game.
Exactly, and 2 of those guys I think are back, and they are a great contributor. So I would think that Missouri's mantra is, like Mike Young said, is now we turn the page and it's 0-0 in the season. But I'm like you. If South Carolina stays out of foul trouble, shoots at least 43% and rebounds, they'll win this ball game.
I think you're right. Rebounding and defense are usually two things you can count on from the Gamecocks.
Man, I can't stop yawning. A case of the yawns. A case of the yawns.
All right, let's update things for you. Mississippi State is leading Auburn 20-18. Bulldogs are shooting 64%. They're 9 of 14 from the floor, and they're getting a great performance thus far from Mr. Sword, who was a postseason coach's All-SEC selection. He's got 10 points. Craig Sword. Does he pronounce it like Sword?
I think it's
Swordman, isn't it?
I use the W. Yeah, I think it's the W. He uses the W.
Yeah, it's S-W-O-R-D, but normally you'd pronounce that Sword.
Exactly.
They have some great names on that team, Corn. They have a Sword. They have a Bloodman. I think they have a Bloodman on that team, too. That's a good duo, Sword and a Bloodman.
Bloodman. They have a ready. So are you ready for the Sword? Some Bloodman.
Yeah, you unsheath that sword, there's going to be some blood, man.
And Auburn has a Canada, so if things go badly for them, they can always go to Canada. All right, what's happening with you, K-Mac?
NC State is up 12-6 here at last check. We're at a media timeout now. My monitor in here has gone to
it's 16-8 now. Yeah.
16-8.
Yes.
16-8 here as we hit a media timeout. NC State playing Pitt. Alan Smothers, the bad boy from our affiliate down in the PD, he's been pacing around all day waiting for this game, and he's now in the arena cheering on the Wolfpack.
You have to root for NC State to lose simply to watch him come unglued. If they start leave the arena and go sit in his car in the parking lot.
I'll charge admission. I'll put up a little barricade around there and charge fans admission to watch that meltdown.
Keep sharp objects away from him. USC baseball is taking a 2-0 lead on Penn State. Gamecocks with 3 hits. They scored their runs in the first, and the run scored on a bases-loaded walk to Caldwell on a 3-0 pitch. And then Destino singled to right field to drive in a run. 2-0 South Carolina. They play the top of the second. And Clemson, last update we had, Clemson was up on Michigan State 1-0 playing at Fluor Field in Greenville. South Carolina to come tonight up against Missouri. Gamecocks, the favorite team, or the higher-seeded team. They're the best of the 4 teams playing tonight in terms of the seed. So that's something to feel good about. You're the king of the play-in round here at the SEC tournament. We'll see if they can build on that and do what they did last year. If they could win a couple of games here and get to Friday like they did last year, they would take that and feel pretty good about things and then see where the chips would fall on Friday.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is obviously once you get to that third game, attrition sets in because their roster is kind of limited right now, and usually those legs start to get rubbery on that third day, and you're playing a team with a double bye who would happen to be Georgia if they get that far, and I think Georgia would have really revenge in their eyes seeing that they lost to USC twice this year.
Yeah, that'd be a bit much in your third game being asked to beat a team for the third time in the season. That might, but you know what? Just to get past this one tonight and then get past Ole Miss, I think they'd feel pretty good about what they've accomplished. Cliff Ellis coming up. we're back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut in Nashville at the SEC tournament. Kevin McCrary's in Greensboro at the ACC tournament, but he'll be heading home now that Clemson has departed, and I'll be here as long as South Carolina's in Nashville. This will be my my third tournament. I've been to the Big South, I've been to the Southern, and now here at the SEC. Have loved them all. Really enjoyed the Big South at Coastal Carolina, where the Chanticleers over the weekend won their second straight tournament championship to advance to the NCAA tournament. We've got head coach Cliff Ellis with us, and I know you're probably watching a lot of tournament basketball on television while you have the chance. How do you feel when you are watching on ESPN and you see the call and already in the NCAA tournament and we see Coastal Carolina come floating by? How does that make you feel when you see that?
Well, it makes you feel proud. I mean, you're proud of your accomplishments. It's great for the school, the university. You can't buy that publicity. And March Madness is a spectacle within itself, as you know, and it's everybody gets excited about it. Even people that are not huge basketball fans, everybody gets caught up in March Madness. It is a worldwide event, so it's magical. It really is, Phil.
Well, I think Joe Lunardi must have heard you the other day, your comments after you won the championship. You said, we don't deserve, this league doesn't deserve to be a 16 seed, and then his latest bracketology, he's got you as a 15 seed. So would you be happy with that?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, I hear 15 seed. I even think it could be better than that, but it's a step in the direction, and as I have said throughout the week, you just take the course of work and you're at the SEC tournament. Just compare our scores against Auburn and Ole Miss to all the teams that are going to be going to the NCAA from the SEC. And, it's a case in point, and all you can do is play those type of games. And, we only get to play them 3 or 4 times a year, but, there's 2 games in the SEC right there. Very simple. We'll compare our scores with Ole Miss and compare our scores with Auburn. They're both on the road, and let's just see how some of those other teams compared. If they all did what we did, I don't have a problem. But, don't stick us as a 15 or 16 seed if these teams are going to get 9, 10 seeds, because the proof's in the pudding. So it is what it is.
You're right about that. Let me ask you this. You've been in situations at Clemson and Auburn and maybe even at South Alabama, I can't remember that far back, where you go to your league tournament and you're already in the NCAA tournament. You know that. But now when you're at Coastal and you're coaching, you don't know that, and your tournament's an absolute pressure cooker. What's the difference on you as a coach in that situation compared to those others?
Well, the difference is, Phil, in the regular seasons when you're feeling the pressure, because at Clemson and Auburn, as a rule at Clemson, you're not going to beat Carolina, Duke, teams like that for the tournament championship. It's going to be in North Carolina. You've got to go play in their backyard. It just doesn't happen. It's hard, and it's never happened. But in the regular season, you've got everybody coming to your place, and you go to their place. So it's more of an even keel. So the pressure is on in the regular season. I think when you go to the tournament, you're either in or you're out. Yeah, when you're in those leagues. At Coastal Carolina, we've had 2 28-win seasons, and we didn't get in. So you've got to win. You've got to win in your tournament, and that is pressure. That is pressure. You a difference. I mean, when you go into those tournaments, you definitely feel it.
Yeah, and especially your league this year, as was noted, 7 teams going into the tournament. Really, any of the 7 could have won, and then we see the first day, the top-seeded teams, except for you, not the first day, but the first full day, all the top-seeded teams, except for your guys, go down. 1 goes down, 2 goes down, 4 goes down. It was a crazy tournament.
It was, but that's what March Madness is. I mean, you're in Nashville now. You're looking at a team like Murray State, undefeated in their a conference regular season, and they get beat by Belmont. And now the question is Murray State going to make it? Now, I really think it's a shame if they don't, but I don't know what's going to happen. But the talk is that Murray State may not get in. But because they were beaten in the tournament. It's just tournament basketball is totally different. You're playing back to back to back, and some teams have to play 4 games. But you don't do that during the regular season, and you don't know how kids are going to respond. They're young kids, but I mean, we played at 9 o'clock one night, got off at 11:30. We were back on the court at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't do that during the regular season. So anything can happen, and that's why they call it March Madness. Tournament basketball, I think that's what makes basketball so popular, is people love tournaments, and anything can happen. If you have a bad day, you're going home. Kentucky, as great as they are, if they have a bad day and somebody's knocking those threes down, they could go home. Probably 9 out of 10 times they would win, but if it's not going to take but one bad day, and they could go home. Without question, they're the best team, but they could go home.
Talking with Coastal coach Cliff Ellis, looking ahead to the tournament. I mean, last year, for 30-some-odd minutes, maybe longer, you gave Virginia all they wanted, and that appeared to be a good matchup for you. Is that the key for your team to have a chance? It's just who you draw and the personnel matchups that you're going to have when you get to the tournament?
Well, certain teams pair up against certain teams better than others. I mean, that's just the way it is. But we all know that Virginia is one of the best teams in the country. So, no matter who we'd have gotten, it was going to be a tough draw. But we just happened to knock down threes that night, and we knew that we could match up with the bigs, and we just needed to make sure that we got the ball in, that we took good shots, and just hoped that we're on with the 3-ball. And we were. And they were a power team. They had Joe Harris and the guys that they've got this year. But we knew they were going to try to make twos with their bigs. We needed to make enough threes. That was our strategy, and we had to defend. And if you can just get hot, then things can happen. And for 32 minutes, we were. But Virginia showed why they were ACC champions. They were resilient. But we showed the nation that, one team has to be careful with the 16th seed. And nobody's ever done it, but we came very close to. If it would have been a high school quarters and 32 minutes instead of a 40-minute game, it could have been a different story, but it wasn't. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
You hit people holding their breath, I can tell you that. Well, I'll tell you what. The way Eli Wilson shoots the ball, the way Warren Gillis can shoot it and also get to the rim, the way Josh Cameron can light it up. I mean, you've got a team that, like you said, on a given night, you making your threes, you can make it tough for anybody.
Well, we've got a stretch 4 in Badu Zhang. You watched the game the other day. Our 4-man hit 2 big threes out of the corner.
Yeah.
And, that's something that in the NCAA tournament, if you can just stay loose, stay confident, take good shots and play good defense and rebound, the 3-ball gives a team like Coastal a chance.
Well, enjoy the rest of your week. I know you're working and getting ready for next week. It'll really increase over the weekend, and as Selection Sunday gets here, you got a big selection party, I know, on Sunday. Good luck with the pick and the draw, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, Phil, thank you. It's always good business with you.
You too, Coach. All right, that's my neighbor, too, from down there in Garden City. Yes, sir. Of course, when he moved in the neighborhood, guys, the values of all the houses went up dramatically with what he built down there in Garden City.
Does he serenade with his guitar and
does.
singing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Bobby Cremens and John Feinstein were listening to some of his music earlier today in the media room.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Funny. All right, we appreciate Cliff being with us. I'd love for them to, they're not going to be a 16 apparently. They'll be a 15. Hey, 15s have won in the tournament before, as we well know.
Just ask Arizona and South Carolina.
That's the Gamecocks, yeah. We'll be right back. We'll update things and move forward. Thanks again to Cliff Ellis for being with us. You know, you really have to appreciate how good of a coach that he is. You know, he's going to be 70 years old. Doesn't look it. Still gets after it with the best of them. But to me, you look at him and the places where he's coached on what would be considered a level playing field, he's had a dominant program. South Alabama, I think he went to 3 NCAA tournaments there. And, of course, what he's doing at Coastal Carolina, he's been to now back-to-back tournaments, but he had some really good teams that got beat in their tournament and didn't get in. I consider those situations level playing fields in terms of who you're recruiting against and who you're competing against. And then, you know, let's face it, Clemson and Auburn, those basketball programs are not on a level playing field with the upper echelon in basketball of their respective leagues. You're fighting an uphill battle. And you know, he had good years at Clemson, won an ACC regular season championship, never been done before, got his team to the NCAA tournament, almost got his team to the Elite Eight, except for a a freak of nature moment for Connecticut. And, of course, at Auburn, he had a couple of three really good years there. But typically, you'd have a nice run, and then you would dry up in those programs because it's just hard to maintain the consistent level of talent to compete against the better teams in those leagues. So I think that's what really shows what a terrific coach he is.
Yeah.
And
No,
go ahead, Fred.
I know I was about to say that at Auburn, let's face it, at Auburn, had it not been for a guy named Carmelo Anthony, that Auburn team would have gone to the Final Four. Because remember, Syracuse had all they wanted, and it was a 2-point game, I think, with about 30 seconds to go. And Auburn, I think, missed a layup or whatever. And then I think finally Syracuse hit 2 free throws to seal it. But, you know, if Carmelo Anthony was not on that floor wearing the orange, Cliff Ellis would have gone to the Final Four.
And who knows how many classes he took there at Syracuse based on the new information, right?
Right. If Tate George doesn't have his miracle second, they're going to the Elite Eight there at the Meadowlands.
And he had some bad luck too at Auburn when Chris Porter, that whole deal went down with his mother, and I think got some money, and that was one of the class teams in the SEC that year, and they were unable to compete in the postseason because of that. And Porter was the SEC Player of the Year.
Yeah. All right, it's 32-31. Mississippi State up a point with 2:53 to play in the first half here, and Sward and Reddy have 10 each for Mississippi State. Ross Miller has 8 for Auburn. Mississippi State shooting 50%, Auburn at 40%. And K-Mac, what's the status there in Greensboro?
In Greensboro, we're almost to the half, not quite there. 2 minutes and some change, and NC State on top of Pitt 33-21. It has been all Wolfpack tonight.
Yeah, I think NC State, I think they were in the tournament before tonight, but I mean, this will just maybe improve their seeding a little bit. But I think with their wins, they've got some really big wins. That's the difference between, say, they and Miami. Miami, same record as NC State, but they've got some bad losses on their resume, and that's why they need to have a pretty deep run in the ACC tournament, I think, to get in. Pro, you got some other scores to share with us?
Yeah, we got I would say a slight upset in the Pac-12 tournament where Southern Cal, all of 12-19 on the year, upset Arizona State 67-64. That game just ended. Remember a guy by the name of Conslow Martin who coached Tennessee and went in these 4 and went all the way to the Sweet 16? He's in California now, and they're 18-14 on the year. They knock off Washington State 84-59 in the Pac-12 tournament. In the Big Ten tournament, just ended about an hour ago, Penn State beating Nebraska 67-64. Nebraska, an NCAA team last year, everybody excited about their record in the Big Ten. A lot of their players back this year, and they lost their last 9 ball games of the season. Who'd have thunk it? And, of course, South Carolina State, who beat North Carolina A&T last night, are in the second round of the MEAC tonight, starting at 8 against Norfolk State. And that's a tough chore for SC State because they're playing in Norfolk, Virginia.
All right. Baseball, bottom of the second. USC's taking a 3-0 lead on Penn State. And we have a sacrifice fly by Kyle Martin, scoring the Gamecocks' 3rd run. As for Clemson, see if I can get a quick update on the Tigers. The stat broadcast is not working for this particular game since they're playing over in Greenville. It is all tied at 1 as they go to the 3rd inning. Clemson, Michigan State playing at Fluor Field. Back in a moment. gone to halftime here. Mississippi State leading Auburn 36-34. Auburn getting a three-pointer at the buzzer to make it a 2-point game. By the way, we're talking all this college basketball. Let's don't forget NBA season's going on. Raise your hand, those of us here on the Sports Talk panel, and we'll include you, State Man. Raise your hand if your team is still in the hunt for the NBA playoffs and has not been officially eliminated from playoff consideration. Let's see. Raise them high. Let's see. I see Pro's hands. Let's see. I see my hand. I see State Man's hand. K-Mac, I don't see your hand up in the air.
No, there's nothing. Look, I mean, I'm not pretending the Lakers are a playoff team. I've never pretended that. I've said all along their strategy is to lose.
You're eliminated now. You realize that, don't you? You are officially eliminated.
Good. I was disappointed, though. They won against the Pistons last night, and that's not good. That's not good at all. Losses are bad.
Okay, Meg, I want to tell you this, though. You know, your strategy, you're playing for the draft. I don't think that's wise. Show me a team here in recent years that has relied on the draft.
Well, Phil, no, here's I wouldn't care. They have to have a top 5 pick or they lose it. So if they have the 6th worst record or the number 6 pick, they don't get a first-round pick. They don't get that pick. So that is a big difference between having a top 5 pick or no pick. That's huge.
Why don't they get that pick? A trade?
They traded it away for that lovely move that got them Steve Nash. That turned out great for them.
Nah. Well, I'm just glad my team is still alive in the playoffs. We want to make the playoffs this year. We want to make it as an 8 seed, a 7 seed. Doesn't matter to me. I want to be. I like my team. We've got a good young.
That's really what the Celtics are. They're about an 8 seed. That's what they've been ever since Larry Bird retired, sans 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, whatever. I think that we've won championships since Larry Bird retired.
Won championship. 8
seeds since then. So
that's with a P, not an S.
I've got a chance to be in the playoffs. You don't. Okay, that makes me a potential winner and you a definite loser. That's the way it is for the Celtics.
Whatever you say.
And we still have the all-time record against your guys head-to-head, more wins than losses, and more championships, and more victories over you.
When television was still black and white.
It'll count. Last time I checked, I look at Wikipedia, it's still on Wikipedia.
Hey, you know what? The USSR used to be a superpower.
And the guy you booed is resurrecting your program, meaning Isaiah Thomas.
Well, not the same one.
I know.
Yeah. I like this guy. This guy's a
I loved him in Washington.
And they seem to love him. He seems to fit in well with them. It's kind of the anti-Rondo from a personality standpoint. But anyway, K-Mac, final thoughts from the ACC as short as your stay was?
Yeah, on my way home tomorrow, 37-23 NC State over Pitt at the half.
All right, that was a safe trip. And we'll see. I may be here tomorrow night. I may not be. We'll see what the Gamecocks do tonight. Check out our coverage at sportstalksc.com. Thank you, Pro. Thank you, State Man. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.